Hi, welcome to the lecture. Today's facial features are brought to you by the 21st President of the United States. That's Chester A. Arthur. Today we are going to knock out those terms. All right. Basically, today is the Pacific Theater. So let's get us set up. Anybody want to say hi to your friends in the odd periods? All right. One quick sweep. Yay, friends! And that's still good facial hair. All right. Let's start off with a little bit of quick review. As usual, today, in terms of our peasant standards, we'll be knocking out E down here and hitting into the Pacific. As far as our nerd standards are concerned, we are still fighting a multi-front war. We've already gone all the way through Europe. Today we're going to, like I said, pick up in the Pacific. We'll talk about the emergence of the United States as a global power in the atomic age. Again, my YouTube fans, this right here is on ITSL. If you want to check it out, it's there for you. Yep. And we've already hit all of the home front stuff. So we talked about Western democracies appeasing Hitler and Mussolini. What is appeasement? Just letting them do their thing. What did Hitler do that we appeased?
Built up his arms.
Built up his arms, good. And then we started the European theater with Germany invading what? Poland, good. What was Mussolini in Italy doing? Yep, trying to get Egypt and Japan.
Invaded China.
There you go, good. All right, so we talked about the appeasement. We talked about the United States moving from neutrality, where we are prohibiting loans and an arms embargo on all belligerents. What is a belligerent? Yeah, somebody being aggressive. Now, there's a step in between neutrality and lend-lease. What is that?
Neutrality, yeah.
Good, cash carry. Okay? And so we go neutrality, cash carry, where they have to come and pick everything up. What are we trying to avoid there? A Lusitania-like event, and then we move to lend-lease. What is lend-lease? Good, buy, sell, trade, and give anything to anyone. All right? We're going to get FDR elected for a third time. We've talked about all the lifestyle changes, the war, mobilization, the wartime conversion, the rationing, victory gardens, all that fun stuff. A. Philip Randolph says there he wants equality in the military. What aspect of the military is he seeking?
Wartime industry.
Good. And Roosevelt is going to respond with what? Which does? There you go, desegregates wartime industries. We talked about selective service. We've got a draft. And then we talked about Imperial Japan. This is really where we'll pick up a little bit more today. Remember, we simply appease Japan when they go after Manchuria. When do we freeze their assets? Good, when they take French Indochina. And what is French Indochina? Good. Now, at the same time that they start expanding, we are going to move General Douglas MacArthur to the Philippines here. Remember, when did we get the Philippines?
Spanish-American War.
Good, as a result of that Spanish-American War. And so we are going to put MacArthur in the Philippines. If you recall, he was back there in World War I. He was also where else? Good, he was with that bonus army. He had since retired, but we're bringing him back for World War II. Okay, bringing him back, I think, as a 3-star general this time. And so he's going to be in the Philippines. We'll pick up with the Philippines campaign in just a minute. Do the Japanese think that we'll fight?
Nope.
No, they think that we'll simply do what? Appeasement and attempt diplomacy. Good. When they realize that we're not going to necessarily bend to them, what do? Good, attack us at Pearl Harbor. When is Pearl Harbor? December 7th of 41. What do we do on the 8th?
Declared war.
Declare war on Pearl Harbor, and remember the 11th? Germany declares war on us. All right, we've already gone all the way through the European theater, but remember, we are fighting a multi-front war at the exact same time. So while the Army is over in Europe, the Marines are largely going to be in the Pacific, and that's what we're hitting today. Internment camps. Why are we putting them there?
Fear.
A combination of fear and what are we saying we want to do? Protect them. Regardless of which avenue you want to settle your mind in terms of internment camps, what are we doing to American citizens?
Lock them up.
Taking away their rights, stripping them of their civil liberties. What landmark court case way back allowed this to happen? I think in times of imminent danger. What case was that?
Shank.
Yeah, there you go. Shank. All right, good. Shank v. U.S. Good job. So, I'm going to run back to the this map here. Okay. Remember, we send MacArthur over here into the Philippines. December 7th, Pearl Harbor hit. Our most important fleet at this time is sitting here in the Philippines. All right, again, being led by MacArthur. U.S. headquarters were in Manila. We were in control of about 130,000 troops, of which 80% of them were Filipino. These weren't professional soldiers. They were more of a militia-style organization. And we've only really got one well-trained U.S. division over there. All right. After Pearl Harbor, MacArthur doesn't take any precautions against any Japanese attack on the Philippines. When was Pearl Harbor? On December 8th. They're going to attack the Philippines. All right. Philippine campaign. Okay. Philippine campaign, their first objective was Manila. Take Manila. Why do they want Manila?
It's the capital.
That's where our headquarters are based. Good. What we're going to see is on January 2nd of 42, Japan's going to actually enter Manila, and MacArthur is going to flee to the Bataan Peninsula. Okay? Going to flee to the Bataan Peninsula. All right. Now, the Japanese force is much smaller than the U.S. Filipino force, but the U.S. has no supplies. All right, and so we're functioning off reduced rations. There's even a case where we ended up having to eat the cavalry. What are they eating?
Horses.
Yeah, Jello. Yeah. U.S. is going to set up defense lines on the Bataan Peninsula and have to fall back on them 5 times. All right? Fall back on them 5 times. On March 12th, 1942, FDR is going to order MacArthur off Corregidor, and he actually moves him to Australia. It's at this point that MacArthur will make the famous line, I have arrived and shall return. Troops understood that we had to remove him. Remove MacArthur for PR sake, but they're still going to feel a little betrayed. Okay. The Filipino government even goes with MacArthur to Australia. Are we winning this?
No.
No, but we need a morale boost. Okay, we need a morale boost. We are not doing well. You know, we kind of got caught off guard here with Pearl Harbor and now the Philippines. But again, because we need a hero, because we need a morale boost, MacArthur is actually going to be given a Congressional Medal of Honor for leaving the Philippines. And it sounds silly, but again, we needed some type of morale boost and we needed a hero. The campaign looks really, really bleak for those left on or in the Philippines. Here it is inset on this Bataan Peninsula. Okay. And on April 9th, the U.S. is going to have to surrender on the Bataan Peninsula. Okay, 70,000 prisoners would be captured. Okay, 70,000 prisoners were captured. Of those 70,000, about 10,000 of them were U.S. forces. What is going to happen when we surrender is what's known as the Bataan Death March. Okay, does ROTC still do a mock thing on that
For what?
for the Bataan Death March? No? Alright. They used to when I was first here. I think they used to try to do it right around that date. Now, we surrender on this Bataan Peninsula, and what they're going to do is they're going to march us off the peninsula further inland. Why wouldn't they just leave us on the peninsula?
Because they're easier to rescue there.
There you go. You know, there's nearly limitless options for entry and escape. And so this Bataan Death March, they're going to march these soldiers. Now, how many people were taken prisoner? About 70,000. Japan only had provisions for about 25,000. Okay? As you can see, the soldiers here are going to have to march like this in single file. If they stepped out of line, they got jabbed in the ribs with the butt of a gun. If you fell down, you just had to step over a guy. All right? Don't stop to pick him up, otherwise you'll die. All right? This is a grueling march. All right? This is a grueling march. About 70,000 prisoners were taken. About 10,600 died on the march. Okay? Is this good? Is this something you want to share with the American public? Why not? Yeah, we're in the dumps. U.S. public is not going to find out about the Bataan Death March until March of '44. Is the war a much different war in '44? Mm-hmm. Yes. Now, once the American people find out about the Bataan Death March, they're going to call for the utter destruction of Japan. War bond sales are going to go through the roof. And again, though, we're really rolling at that point. Okay? So, after we surrender on Bataan, we really need some type of morale boost. And we're going to get it a couple days later with the Doolittle raid. Not even a couple days later. What is that, a whole year later?
No.
What was my date on the Bataan? 42? Okay. I'm mixing up dates in my head then. So, Doolittle raid. Doolittle raid did little, but it does provide the morale boost that we need. All right? The Doolittle raid on April 18th, 1942 was a small raid by American bombers. In fact, we had 16 B-25 bombers took off from carriers posted right out here. All right? Now, these B-25s were stripped of all things that were not necessary. Okay? Meaning all the extra guns were stripped from them. Each B-25, and a B-25 bomber is not very large. All right? We've got 16 of them. Each one of them are loaded with 4 bombs apiece. How many bombs do we have total? 64. Is that going to be an overwhelming victory? No. All right? The plan was to drop the bombs on some targets in Japan and then land in either the Soviet Union. Why would we land in the Soviet Union? Because they're out of that power. Or land in friendly parts of China. What's the problem with landing in China?
They're already invaded by Japan.
A lot of it, especially along the Yellow Sea and the East China Sea, has been taken by the Japanese.
The Soviet Union looks closer anyways.
Yeah.
Do they really have enough gas to make that trip?
They only have the gas to make a one-way trip.
This was part of that movie, wasn't it, Pearl Harbor?
Was it?
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've seen it.
They
Probably
died,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. But again, we don't have enough gas to hit and come back. And plus, if we hit and we only have 64 bombs, are people going to follow us back? Do we want our carriers to be sunk? No. Absolutely not. Okay? So, 16 B-25 bombers are going to take off from the carrier, stripped of all unnecessities, and loaded with 4 bombs apiece. We are going to hit, with those 16 planes, we're going to hit 4 cities. Okay? Hit 4 cities. We will land in both China and the Soviet Union. And unfortunately, a lot of the, or some of the planes that landed in China were captured by Japan.
Part of the movie.
Okay. So, the results. The results of the Doolittle raid. Militarily, it was a harmless raid. Okay? Militarily, it was a harmless raid. I mean, you got to think, 64 bombs isn't going to do a whole lot. Okay? But psychologically, it was huge for U.S. morale. Okay? It was huge for U.S. morale because we hit mainland Japan. Okay? We hit mainland Japan. It also shocked the Japanese. Who's in control of Japan at this point? Yeah, the Razor. Alright? Tojo's been telling the people there's no way anybody will ever touch mainland Japan. There might be some engaged wars in the islands and in areas that we've taken over, but mainland Japan will never be hit. Psychologically, it's a huge blow to the Japanese. Alright? So, is it a big deal though? Not really. Again, morale, yes. Militarily, no. Alright? And we really are getting hit. We're really getting hit all over the place. Not doing too well. Again, we haven't quite yet gotten our industry converted into wartime industry. Alright? Let's fast forward a bit. I'm skipping a lot of this stuff simply because College Board doesn't care about war. You know, we could definitely have a week-long Pacific Theater lecture, but I'm trying to condense it down into the turning points in and of. Alright? Turning point in the Pacific, though, has got to be Midway. Okay, Midway. Midway. Here's Hawaii right here. Midway's right there. Okay? Midway is theoretically the middle point of the Pacific. It's right here. Okay? If right here is Hawaii, Midway is right where my middle finger is. Alright? Now, that's Midway. For all intents and purposes, it's an atoll. What is an atoll? It's the top of a volcano. Alright? Why on earth would we try to engage Japan in a naval battle over that?
Because, like,
There you go. It's got an airfield. Okay? Every single time that we engage Japan in one of these islands, it's going to be because there's airfields. Okay? So Midway. Going into Midway, Japan had superior numbers. Okay? They had superior numbers across the board. Kind of by the numbers. In terms of carriers, Japan had 4. The U.S. had 2. Battleships, Japan had 11. The U.S. had 6. Cruisers, Japan had 13. The U.S. had 8. And destroyers, Japan had 54 and the U.S. only had 18. By the numbers, who has the overwhelming power?
Japan.
Definitely Japan. Alright? The U.S. had 1 advantage. Anybody know what it was?
Surprise.
Not confidence.
They brought the Japanese scouts.
There you go. Intelligence. Right before Midway, we broke Japanese codes. Okay, we broke their code. We figured out what they were saying in all their messages. U.S. decoded Japanese messages, so we knew exactly what Japan's plans were for Midway. We knew June 4th, 1942, Japan was going to attack us at Midway. We knew how they were going to set up their arrival coming towards the Midway Islands. U.S. defenses were planned. We were prepared. The guns were ready. When they showed up on radar, our planes were already in the air waiting for them. 60% of all Japanese planes were destroyed at Midway. As the U.S. planes were flying around, we stumbled upon the Japanese carriers. How many carriers did the Japanese have?
4.
Guess how many they have now? Boom. Alright. U.S. is going to lose 1 carrier and 360 men. Over 3,000 Japanese will die at Midway. Alright. Now that we can break their code, now that we know their plans, we're really going to put Japan on the defensive. Okay, we're going to put Japan on the defensive. Once Japan goes on the defensive, that's when you will start seeing the kamikaze style, Bushido code warfare that is in the movies and all that stuff. Alright? After Midway, though, we begin island hopping. Okay, we're going to begin island hopping. We will hop from Guadalcanal to Tarawa to Peleliu, Leyte Gulf, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. Every time that we jump around from island to island, why are we selecting the islands that we are going to hit?
So that way you
Airfields.
There you go. Again, the idea is try to get closer and closer to mainland Japan so that we don't have to do another Doolittle raid where we can only go one direction. So we can put planes close enough to hit Japan and return. This is not going to be easy. Alright, it's going to be a slow, painful process. Most of these are marine battles. We would make a landing and have to clear these islands. Alright? The islands, the Japanese had been waiting. They were dug in. They had pillboxes all over these islands. And it became very difficult. When we thought nobody was around, all of a sudden, a pillbox would basically open up and we'd get mowed down with machine gun fire. One tactic that we will begin using at this time, flamethrowers. Alright? Because coming up and having to clear the pillboxes, initially it was, hey, just take a grenade, throw it in the hole. Except for it only blows up a given area. You know, they might have created a little wall that they could hide behind and then come back. So what we would do, if let's say this was the opening to the pill bottle, or the pillbox, we'd come in, stick a flamethrower in there, unleash. All right, make sure everything burns out. Make sure that we strip the area of oxygen. Even if we don't burn them alive, they'll suffocate. Is this nice?
No.
No, but guess what? War is hell. All right. It's not pretty. It's not easy. It's not fun. You can't hide behind a rock and regain your power. All right. So, as we continue to jump, okay, planners, we get as close as, let me get my date, by June of 45, we had secured Okinawa, which was right down there, and we feel that we're getting close enough, all right? War planners began planning for a Japanese invasion. Okay, we began planning for a Japanese invasion. The idea is that we would hit Kyushu on November 1st, 1945, and Honshu, the different islands of Japan, and Honshu, March 1st, 1946. We estimated that invading Japan would cost us somewhere between 25,000 and 1.5 million Allied casualties. We figured we'd have to annihilate about 10 million Japanese. The reason why? Japan was being told that, you know, all these terrible things, that the Americans were doing awful things to the captives of war, and that everybody should fight. Part of your daily school ritual for children was learning how to fight with anything around, broomsticks, anything. All right. The Japanese were preparing also for the invasion, and everyone was willing to die. Okay? That's the war planner's plan. General Curtis LeMay has a little bit of a different plan. Okay? Curtis LeMay was an Air Force general. January 1945, he was given command of all bombers in Guam. Okay? His objective, his plan, was to make air raids on Japan using B-29 bombers. Okay? His idea was low-level firebombing. Alright? Low-level firebombing. The reason he thinks firebombing is going to be a useful technique is because at this time most Japanese cities were made out of wood. So you drop a couple firebombs, what happens to the whole city? Even after you're out of bombs, what continues? Yeah. It's snowing outside.
Oh, we're back to this again.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It's not gonna stick though, so don't get excited, people on YouTube.
It's like 19 degrees.
So, Curtis LeMay, okay? On March 9th, LeMay is gonna start his firebombing. Okay, March 9th, LeMay is gonna start his firebombing. What kind of planes does he have? B-29 bombers. He's gonna take out all the guns on the B-29 bombers except one. What gun is LeMay gonna keep?
Tail gun.
Why?
To cover yourself from enemy bombs.
Yep, just in case Japanese planes are able to get off the ground, they're going to attack from behind, and so you have some defense. On March 9th, LeMay targets Tokyo with 334 B-29 bombers. He averaged it out to send 3 planes a minute over the city. He couldn't send more than 3 planes a minute because the heat from the fire below was so intense that it was knocking the planes around in the sky as they flew over Tokyo. And he feared that if he sent more than 3 planes a minute over the city, they'd get knocked into each other. Alright?
How high do they fly?
Tokyo like burned for like 4 days.
Do what?
Didn't like Tokyo like burn for like 4 days?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to burn for a while.
Sorry.
It's going to end up, this attack right here is going to end up leaving 1 million people homeless. It's going to kill 900,000 people and destroy 16 square miles. Alright? In those 16 square miles, that's over 267,000 buildings were torched on this raid. This March 9th attack by Curtis LeMay was the deadliest single attack in the war. Okay? Now, Curtis LeMay is going to firebomb Tokyo several times, as well as other cities. But there are 2 cities he's not allowed to touch.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He's not allowed to touch those. We've got other plans for that. Okay? Who? Yeah. He doesn't like it. Well, he doesn't know exactly why. He's just he knows that he's not allowed to touch us. But there's other things in the mix. Okay? Now, is that March 9th attack huge?
Yeah.
It's bigger than 2.
It's not even what he could have done. Okay? The could haves. Curtis LeMay could have averaged 34,000 tons of bomb a month. By November, because remember this is March, by November he could have had 15,000 B-29s under his command, dropping 500,000 tons of incendiary bombs a month on Japan.
Why did they even keep fighting?
Japan actually tried to surrender to Curtis LeMay. But what they wanted was a conditional surrender. Japan said, we will surrender, we will stop fighting, just let us keep our emperor. The emperor, remember, is a lot like the Queen of England. No real power, it's more of a cultural and symbolic thing. The United States, are we interested in a conditional surrender?
No.
No, we want an absolutely unconditional surrender. You don't get to make any deals when you surrender with us. Alright? But they tried to him. Now, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like I said, we've got other plans. And those are all around the Manhattan Project. Okay? What is the Manhattan Project?
Nuclear testing.
It's the code name for making of the atomic bomb. Now, you can see all the different areas in the country where we are working on the Manhattan Project. Are any of them in Manhattan? No. Alright? The big areas, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and Los Alamos. Alright, Los Alamos is where it's all put together. In July of 1945, we would successfully test an atomic bomb. Anybody know where we tested it?
Nevada, in the desert.
Right here. At Alamogordo. Alright, Project Trinity was the test, or was the name of the test. And they videotaped it. Okay? We literally sent out our own troops into the middle of the New Mexican desert and dropped a bomb near them.
Gotta see what would happen.
You gotta see what would happen. Now, I mean, you guys wanna watch it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of these guys didn't survive another decade or two. A lot of these guys are gonna end up dying from all kinds of crazy cancers. Alright, this is pretty long, so we'll fast forward it to here. Well, there's the plane. Don't worry, people on YouTube. We're YouTubing YouTube. There's the plane going over the desert. You can see our guys in dugouts telling them to jump in. Imagine if you're one of these soldiers. Oh, what are you doing today? Just hanging out in the desert.
Did they know that was going to happen?
Yeah. But nobody knew, again, nobody knew the real repercussions. They're playing cards. The real repercussions of nuclear power. Here we go. Duck down, boys. YouTubing YouTube. That's gonna start, man. Alright, go ahead, drop it. Do it. That's all test stuff. See how well this stuff can hold up. Boom. Watch this. Don't look up. See how they just got hit with the shockwave? Boom. Boom. Unreal.
How far away were these guys?
They were decently far enough, but watch, everybody's going to jump out and go run and check it out.
That was sick.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, most of these guys are getting all kinds of radiation. It's not going to be very good for them.
Wait, why do they
Yeah,
have
what-
their guns?
Do what?
They're like walking out there like with their guns. Why?
Well, of course,
Why would
because
they
that's
take
what
their
you do
gun?
when you're a soldier.
Wait, what
But
are
like that makes no sense. You're like in the middle of like the desert.
I understand, but
You're not just gonna leave the gun to go over.
Well, I mean, who's gonna come? Like Germany ain't
it's
gonna
not about who's coming. It's about,
You're
you know, this is what you do. This is my rifle. This is my gun. It's with me at all times. You wouldn't make a very good soldier. Yes.
Okay, whenever the bomb got dropped, you could see like streaks of like smoke going up from the side that just look like little squiggles. Like, what is that?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I mean, I would assume that those were things that, you know, I mean, you saw those other tanks and jeeps and things. Maybe it had something to do with that. I'm not really sure. Somebody else had a question? Yes.
Yeah, what was the date that the first successful bomb was?
Shooting up.
July of 45. Okay. Now, if you recall, April of 45, FDR died. Okay, April of FDR. April of 45, FDR died. And so in April of 45, Harry Truman is pulled out of the Senate and told, hey, you're on, big guy. They swore him in and took him into the Oval Office, opened up the safe and say, oh, and by the way, here's the Manhattan Project. Has FDR written anything down about deals that were made about how we're going to do this? No.
Is that why the Soviet Union got so ticked off? Because you think
We didn't tell them.
FDR made-
Because remember, we don't successfully test it until July. Truman is the president, and the Secretary of State and Churchill do not like Stalin, and so they don't want to include him in to this little project.
Churchill now?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So, Japanese, do they already want out?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. July 45, we successfully tested the bomb. August, Truman is going to okay the use on those two cities that we've been holding off on. Okay? Hiroshima and Nagasaki both had military industries. Hiroshima was the 8th largest city in Japan. On August 6th, we'll drop a bomb on Hiroshima. Now, a couple days before, we flew a plane over both these cities and dropped messages saying that death will rain from the sky and that you need to leave. Okay?
That was nice.
Hardly anybody took it up on it. You know, they thought really Curtis LeMay was going to come. Nobody really anticipated this. Okay? Remember, this has never been seen in the world before. Hitler tried to make atomic weapons, but he came like 2 steps away from successfully creating a nuclear explosive and decided that it was a pipe dream and that it wasn't possible.
Who?
Hitler. Think about if the Nazis had gotten atomic bombs.
They've been screwed.
Yeah. And this is way before, you know, we got our hands on this project.
Is
Okay?
that where we got it from?
The idea, yeah. I mean, everybody had been trying it, but they were definitely more advanced. And we're actually going to get some of their scientists.
Yeah, we picked up from where they left off.
Okay? So, on the 8th, Hiroshima will get hit. On the 9th, Nagasaki will get hit. This picture right here, all right? The first one that we dropped on Hiroshima is the little boy. It was 3.2 meters tall, which is roughly, you know, a little over 10 feet. Probably the bomb was as big as, you know, from floor to ceiling here. Okay? An explosive charge in the back of it would send a bullet down the barrel to a uranium sphere, creating a supercritical mass fission reaction. All right? This picture was taken in Hiroshima before, when we dropped all those little leaflets onto them. This was taken a couple days later.
That bridge is still there. That's about
Yeah.
it.
What you guys have got to understand is that with nuclear bombs, you don't want them to blow up on the ground. You want them to blow up above the city. Because if you, let's say here's the ground, and here's buildings, put a couple trees, sunny day, okay? If the bomb hits here, it's going to blow with equal force in all directions. Alright? If the bomb explodes here, it's going to crush everything beneath it. Alright? Children are outside playing. You can still go today to Hiroshima and beside a school where children were outside playing. The light from the explosion of this bomb was so intense that before the explosion literally turned the children into dust, it burned their shadow onto concrete walls behind them. Alright? This book is fantastic. Alright? It's called Prompt and Utter Destruction, Truman and the Use of the Atomic Bomb Against Japan. Alright? This book is great. I'll read you a couple of my favorite parts from it. The survivors of the blast and the heat were often horribly debilitated, blinded by the flash, burned and blistered by the heat, cut beyond recognition by flying glass. Those who could move stumbled through the darkness caused by dust, smoke, and debris. It was common to see people whose skin was hanging off their bodies as a result of the thermal flash and the heat that together caused severe blistering and tearing of the skin. Charred corpses were everywhere, and no services were available to help the living put out fires, salve their wounds, or ease their agonies. The survivors were often so weakened that they died from their injuries or from later effects of radiation, which began to show up within a few days after the attack. Those who received very large doses of radiation died within a short time. Others who received less exposure still ran the risk of cancer or other causes of premature death. The presence of the health hazards of radiation was one of the major differences in the effects of the aerial attack on Japanese cities with conventional weapons and those of the atomic bomb. The other important distinction, of course, was that the destruction of Hiroshima was accomplished with a single bomb. The concussion blow from this bomb, another part of this book, people who had their back to the explosion, when it hit them, not only did it burn all the skin off their back, but the blast was so powerful that their eyes came shooting out of their head, and they were literally dangling by the eye cords. And so people were walking around and with their eyes literally in their hands. Hiroshima's on the 8th. Nagasaki was on the 9th. Yo. Go with that. My notes are historically inaccurate when it comes to dates. On the 14th, Japan surrenders. We get VJ Day, August 14th, 1945. How does Japan surrender?
No conditions.
Unconditional surrender. We say, really, unconditional surrender? They say, yep, unconditional surrender. Please stop dropping those bombs of death onto us. We say, all right, we'll accept your unconditional surrender. You can keep your emperor.
God.
Isn't there a picture of
That is savage.
Dude, just smack
That
him
is
across the face.
savage.
For sure. For sure.
I mean, they killed a bunch of people and like dropped like surprise bombs and all that on our warships, so it's not really like.
Here's the thing.
Dude, that was like.
It's going to immediately start a debate on the use of the atomic bomb. Should we have invaded, or should we have used the bombs?
Use the bombs.
Why?
They would have died if we invaded anyways, and we would have lost a lot of people too. And then they would have never surrendered. We'd have to kill them all.
That's the common thought.
That was just like such a shock when they just surrendered.
Yeah, I mean that's the common argument,
Bomb
but it's an argument, a legitimate argument that still wages today on should we have invaded, should we have taken their conditional surrender, or should we have used the bombs?
I mean, we might as well have just.
Well, now once we demonstrate power, we're using the bombs. Like it's then we have the element of fear, no longer just like okay, we're tired of war. It's like they actually fear us, so it's not going to happen ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
now
then
that
everybody's
we
like,
use
oh.
phones, everyone else
Yeah,
can
it
use
shows the
phones.
whole world.
All right, we'll get into all that because that's what the Cold War is going to be all about. Let's just recap real quick over all of the war here. Okay, U.S. casualties in both theaters. In both theaters, and we're just talking U.S. casualties. 405,000 killed, over 500,000 wounded. All right, this really is known as an infantryman fight. 70% of all casualties will be infantry. Okay. At this point, my YouTube fans, we're done. Kind of a crazy lesson. There's lots of questions that, about morality that you'll have to figure out for yourself. For the rest of class today, I've left a Jeopardy game. Have the sub run through it with you guys, and go Raiders.